Welcome in, everybody. We are back at it again. This is the second Tuesday of every month where Janie comes in and drops in her awesome gold nuggets of content, guys, to get us as luxury agents excited about doing business, excited about the market, excited about keeping the business strong. There's so much we can be excited about, guys, but a lot of times we focus on the negatives. Forget the negatives today, right? We're going to talk about how to actually build your life blueprint, which, Janie, I'm excited about this. And so I'm going to let you take it away, and I'll be the commentary on the sidelines.
I love your commentary, Jeremy. So as much as you want to share, always welcome. So this is a concept any of us in business or in life have probably seen many different times. But now that we are in halfway through August, which I hardly believe it, that means we have, 5.5 months left of the year.
Right.
It just had me start to really think about how can we make sure that we pull in our business, what we're doing with our business, incorporated into how to fuel our life, and not just work to work and work to survive and work to pay the bills, but really how to leverage it to fuel our life, specifically if we are working in the higher price points, working our way up in the higher price points, because that gives us a lot of leverage that we might not have thought fully about. But there's a lot of elements to working in the higher price points that transcends just higher commission checks. And so that's what I wanted to weave into this training today. I will try to monitor the comments. Jeremy, if you see any great comments, share them, because I want to make sure people walk away with something really exciting, and at least something that they take action on. If you take action on one thing.
I was thinking about this, the blue guy clear. Just think about the topic for a minute. You know, we sit back sometimes, and those have been doing real estate for a long time, right? Sometimes we get this mundaneness. We get this thing of, you know, just it's the same thing every day, and we may have lost the excitement. And so I think that, you know, do we have a blueprint that makes sense for us, that we want to get up and work hard every day? We want to focus. If you go back, you know, before real estate for me, you know, I did full-time ministry. Before that, I actually ran a printing company. And so, like, I go back and I go back and remember the days that I really hated waking up and going to work. Like, I hated it. And so I think that's what we have to focus in on, is how do we get excited about working with people on their biggest life decisions every day? That's an opportunity for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a bigger opportunity. Like I said, it's not just commission checks. It's a whole ecosystem of how it helps you lead that big life. So let's jump on into it. And, you know, sometimes people think, and I guess one thing I'd like you to take with you through this little training today is, sometimes, like you said, we get so stuck in the mundane, and we think we're so into it, we can't change. We can't evolve in real estate types. We can't move to a new market. We can't change price points because we feel so embedded in what we're doing, and maybe it's going well, that we don't want to change. We don't want to upset the apple cart. And then all of a sudden, you know, you're near retirement age and you've just haven't lived out those dreams you had as a younger person. And that's what we really want to encourage you to do. So using real estate as the leverage to get there. So what is all of this actually for? So that's exactly to your point, Jeremy, the listings, the clients, the commissions, like, what are we doing with it? What are we building from it? Is it just to get to next month, just to get to next week? Which, by the way, that might be the case right now.
That's right.
That might be the case right now. And there's no shame in that. I've been in real estate 20 something years. I've been through a couple big changes in economic cycles. I've been through a divorce. I've been through cancer. I've been through losing both of my parents. I've been through leaving one market and moving to another, leaving one niche and moving to the other. Sometimes we need to have a rebuild phase. And just like when we're farming a crop, you know, sometimes you go down to the soil because you need to fertilize the soil and get the seeds in and water it, and then have a fresh new crop. So if you are in one of those times where it's just to get to next week, just to get next month, don't let that make you lose sight of your dreams, and instead use that as the fertilizer and the water and the fuel to help build those dreams.
And let us know, guys. Let us know if you've been through the ups and downs. Like, for me, you know, that's life. It is ups and downs, and we have to figure out how to go with it. But also, I think in my back of my head, we always have to have that goal as well. We always have to say, why am I doing this? And, and my goal is going to be different than everybody else's, right? I mean, obviously, we all want to make money, right? We all want to make sure it's financially stable. That's a goal that probably goes across every real estate agent. But there's more than that too. And I think that's what we have to think through is, if your driving force is financials, great. Focus on that. If your driving force is beyond that, like for me, I want to have enough financials coming in where I can actually focus on spending time with my family, where I can actually go out and do travel and I can actually see the world. And like, that's what I like, but it's going to be different than everybody. So, do you have a goal in mind? We love to drop in the chat as a fun little exercise, guys. If you're watching it now, drop in the chat, what's your goal? What do you want to, why are you doing what you're doing? Right. That's always something good to share to inspire others.
Even if, and before I move on to the slide, even if you're not actively pursuing that goal, just that you hold on to that goal, the universe, God, whatever, your faith or your belief system sees as leverage and magic manifestation and answering prayers, a lot of times that's working in the background. I live now on a little equestrian hobby farm that I was not looking to buy. I wasn't looking to move at all. But when I went back to my vision list or my goals list or my, want to achieve sometime list from like 8 years ago, it had live on a farm on it. Cool. And then I got so busy doing all the rest of the stuff that just kind of fell to the background of me consciously. But, having it there, having it written out, thinking about it, putting it out into the ether, it manifested itself 8 years later. So anyway, even the most successful agents, they can fall into that grind. More production, more clients, more complexity, more expenses, more responsibilities. And raise your hand if you are there. I've seen so many team leaders, top producers, they got all the success that they were hoping for, but then they're like, oh my gosh, I just have to hold up this giant thing all the time. The responsibility is killing me. The expenses is killing me. Just the stress is killing me. So don't think that everybody you see who's, very successful in production also is living that big dream life that you think is going to necessarily follow. It doesn't always without planning.
So because Janie, we live in this world where, especially where you look at Facebook and you look at Instagram and you look at YouTube and you see these agents you think are just dominating, right? They're just like rocking. But sometimes when you talk to them one-on-one, like you and I have, you hear the back end stories, you hear the stresses, you hear like they're drowning, right? And so that's what we have to look at and say, we got to have a bigger picture here. And I think that's what you're providing.
Yep. And sometimes the relationships at home are struggling, or sometimes their health is struggling, or their mental strength is struggling. So what we want to do is reframe it about not business. Your business should support your life. Your life should not exist to support your business. It's a subtle distinction, but it's very, very important. I lived in Germany for several years. I worked as an adult in Germany, and they always talked about Americans. That's what they called. They called us, they just have a word for us. But they always said, here in Germany, we work to live, and you guys in America, you live to work. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I didn't even.
Crazy to me to think through that. That's and you really think about it.
True.
It's true.
It's true. I was employed at the time, and I was so used to being on a U.S. employment vacation schedule where you got 1, maybe 2 weeks a year, that I was used to like stretching, having a lot of like 3-day weekends to stretch that vacation out. And I got a little bit reprimanded by my boss at the time, who said, you need to take at least 1-2 week vacation every single, because we had 4 at that time. Every single year, you need to take at least 2 weeks at a time. So you have a break. And so that kind of started me on my journey of looking at things a little bit differently than just that grind, work, which, by the way, there's times for all of that too. We're just talking about a little bit of balance. So why luxury changes the equation, and why we're talking about this, because you can get the same training about, life balance or, all these things anywhere else. But the amazing thing with luxury real estate is you have higher economics, meaning one transaction can really give you meaningful capital to invest back into your business, higher value relationships. A lot of the time when you go up in price point, the folks you are dealing with often either have multiple properties, have multiple opportunities to refer you, and a referral goes so far at the higher price points because trust and confidence in who people are working with becomes even more important at the higher price points. So clients actually become assets, they become leverage, they become kind of your path to your long-term horizons. They give you access to all kinds of things, off-market deal, other people, other private capital if you're into investing yourself or you're helping somebody else invest. And they give you leverage because your reputation creates opportunities beyond individual transactions. So that's why plugging in luxury real estate and everything that comes with it into that big life blueprint becomes like fuel to your fire. So luxury is not just a production category, it's actually something that you can really treat as a platform to reach your big life goal. So
and honestly, Jenny, you and I've talked so much about, especially seeing agents that had no idea that luxury was an option for them, right?
right,
Seeing this
absolutely.
as this is an open category that many agents would have never even thought of. Like, I'm in Central Kentucky, guys, and so like our luxury is a little different than like Miami or for other places, but there's still luxury here. And so there's many agents that I've talked to one-on-ones here. They're like, oh, I do 300 to 400,000. That's kind of that's all the homes I sell. And I'm like, yeah, but why not? Like,
Right.
why are you like, there's just a missing gap in a lot of, and yes, is some places saturated more than others for sure. But just making one little shift in a business can completely like change the trajectory of businesses. And Jenny, you could probably name 20 people off the top of your head that moving to a luxury element into their business has truly been a life change for them. And
Yeah.
so if you've thought about this, guys, and you're not integrating luxury into your current business, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, and luxury doesn't have to be, that I think is a big misconception. And you mentioned it yourself.
Yeah.
A lot of people think luxury and they immediately think they, 10, 20, $50 million deals in Miami, LA, New York, Toronto, things like that. Luxury is whatever is luxury in your market. And it's going to be very different for Jeremy in Kentucky than it is for me in St. Augustine, Florida, than it is in somebody in, St. Louis or Milwaukee or anywhere else. And even within those cities, those large cities, Miami, New York, LA, there's a whole range of luxury within there. So higher price points absolutely are accessible to everybody. And if you just think, what if you took whatever your average price point is now? In your example, the gentleman or person was saying 300 to 500. So let's say their average price point was 400. What if they just increase their average price point by 50%, just to 600? That is not a huge stretch because their average price point was already, up to 5 ongoingly.
Yep.
Just to 600, that's giving yourself a 50% raise.
And let's say you do this only for 5 deals or 4 deals or even 3 deals. That is a massive increase in revenue just by bumping it up a little bit in the types of homes you're selling.
Yeah.
And I've seen the numbers, guys. I've seen like agents that have literally started bumping it up. Like every year, their next focus is the next level, whatever that $100,000 range is next. And literally they'll come back and they'll be like, holy cow, it's been an unbelievable life change for me. Yeah. And that's what we're looking for. And I'm not saying every deal has to be like, for example, like you're not turning down deals, guys.
No,
you're just refocusing a little bit.
That's what I'm saying. Your average price point. So if you're normally doing 300 to 500,000, maybe a handful you do 900 to 1.1, a handful, and the rest are that, and that brings your average up. So anyway, we want you to start thinking more like an entrepreneur, not just a producer, because you will be a producer until you retire if you just stick in the producer mindset. And then all of a sudden you retired and you thought, what is it for? I didn't get to do all those things I dreamed about. I didn't get to go on those vacations or spend time with my family like I want, or pursue my hobbies or whatever things are, because you're so focused on the production. So an entrepreneur thinks differently. They don't think, what can I sell? How much can I sell? They think, can I build a business out of this where the business works for them? And that doesn't have to mean just team leadership. There's all kinds of ways in real estate that you can leverage your real estate activities into some form of business. The trap with top producers often is their income is tied to their personal production. And you want to think about multiple income streams, multiple income engines, where you're not just focused on volume and GCI. Now you're focused on assets, you're focused on freedom, you're focused on income from those assets. And you're not just focused on a career, you're focused on a whole ecosystem. And there's so much available to us now in real estate. We can be, salespeople. We can be team leaders. We can be coaches. We can have digital products. We can have memberships. We can have revenue share if that's part of the brokerage you're at. We can have assets like short-term rentals, long-term rentals. We can do flips. We can do all these different things, all related to real estate. So you're kind of using that ecosystem of the people you're talking to and the skills and the knowledge you're gaining, but you're leveraging it in different ways, not just to get the next deal, the next deal, the next deal.
That alone right there, Janie, is kind of like, I did a workshop recently with about 150 agents, and we talked about the different revenue streams. That was kind of the topic we were talking about. And you go back 20 years, right? Some of this stuff just wasn't available then.
Right.
Like it would be unattainable then. But now, with the power of AI and the power of content and the power of, and the way structured, the different real estate companies are now structured, right? There's so much available out there that me, I believe in multiple revenue streams. Like I could talk about it today. Like you and I live in the world where we love multiple revenue streams. And so I don't want to ever go back to thinking there's one revenue stream, because what happens, guys, when we do that is what happens when that revenue stream dries up? What if happens when we can't control it anymore, right? And so I don't want to be stressed out, because I don't know about you guys, the real estate world in general is a roller coaster.
It is.
You get deals, and then you're dying, right? And you get deals, and then you're dying. And so that multiple streams, which that's not what this workshop topic is about. So I sidebar this, but it makes it more consistent, right? It keeps you in a consistent flow, which makes you happier, and life is easier, hopefully that way. But the stress goes away a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely helps. It definitely helps. And again, you're meeting different people. You're finding different ways to leverage those relationships, that connection, that information. So anyway, I want you to think about life. That's the vision that drives your every decision. Your income is your active and passive streams that fund that life. Leverage is time, relationships, and the knowledge working beyond just your personal hours. Assets is ownership that compounds. That can be real estate, that can be businesses, that can be investments. Relationships is the network that you create, opportunities and generational value. And then the legacy, basically, what do you want to leave when you go away to some other place for your family, for the rest of the world? And that's what I want you to be thinking of, and how we can use this higher price point sales engine to help fuel all of those things. So you've got to design it first. Like I said, I'm living on a farm right now. I'm literally looking at a tractoring on a sod farm right now.
Is that a word? Tractoring a word? Did you just make up a word?
Yeah. And just, you've got to have the vision. And even if that's somewhere out there in the sometime future, you have to have somewhere that you'd like to end up, right? So before you set your income goal, really start with the life part. Where do you want to live? And don't feel stuck that you have to live where you live now in the future, because you're in real estate. You can always move. I myself moved markets, started over. I was number 2 in my MLS within 2 years. Lots and lots and lots and lots of agents move, because you're bringing with you that knowledge. So where would you like to live? Where would you like to live if it's in the same area? Hold on one sec, Jeremy.
Yeah, no worries. I think that's the real thought process is, and you've been through this, right? You've been through, this a couple of times probably.
Yeah.
What does it look like to keep setting your different goals?
Yeah. How do you want to spend your time? You definitely don't want to spend your time just thinking about, coming up with a new AI tool at 10 o'clock at night. How do you really want to spend your time? And what do you want to own? If owning things are important to you, that could be businesses. Maybe you do have I don't know, a dream bag, a dream purse, a dream car. But what do you want to own? Real estate, assets, just around that life. And when you create that life first in your head, then we can start to put everything behind it. And then I want you to define rich or define wealthy, because
Good.
those are things, it's not just a monetary thing. It goes far beyond that. What is that life like in your home? What is your home life like? If you were to live a rich, wealthy life, what would your home be like? What would your living be like? What would your health be like? What would the allocation of your time be like? Do you have a lot of spaciousness in your calendar? Do you have a
Good.
lot of downtime where you can focus on yourself, your interests, your hobbies, the people you care about? Does that give you security? What does that security look like? For me, one of the definitions of wealth around security means I have really good insurances, health
Yep.
insurance, umbrella insurance, home insurance, because I don't want to worry about
Yep.
things. I want to make sure that I have very good insurance. It's like really give some thought about what that means. And it's going to be different to everybody. We don't want, what does this dream mean for a dream vacation? Because often a vacation is, or can be, especially in the North American way of life, an escape from
Yeah.
life. We want you to dream that big life. So instead, describe your dream Tuesday. Like,
That's
what
good.
does your dream Tuesday look like? When you wake up, what is it like? Where are you when you wake up? What does your bedroom look like? What are you doing, and for whom when you wake up? What what have you stopped doing entirely? Are there things that you do now that in your dream Tuesday you will no longer have to do? Like for me, it would probably be a lot of household stuff. I
Yep.
do have help weekly, but there's a lot more stuff I would love to have help with, especially having this mini farm and too many animals to I have help with the animals, but
I was gonna say that animals would be that's it alone right there for me. I'm like, all right, that's too many.
and then write it down. Like I said, write it down and be more specific. Be creative. It's so, I can't tell you how many times in my life dreaming that big dream in the future forward and bringing it to me and bringing me forward to that future, even if I forget about it, how many times it worked. So we want to use your income to fund the life, not that you're creating the income becomes your life. Transaction income is powerful, but it's also fragile. If you get sick, if somebody else gets sick, if you want to go away for a length of time, if the market really changes in your market, we saw that during COVID where certain places in North America were completely shut down and then certain markets totally blew up, and you can't predict or plan that. But when you have things set up that, like we talked about, insulate you from everything falling just on your production, it really, really gives you that peace of mind. Market forces are outside your control, like I said, like COVID, and personal effort can also only go so far. If you have other things working for you, especially in the age of AI, especially in the age of we're one big village, there's lots and lots of things you can do. So your objective is to use income intelligently enough that it eventually creates wealth that doesn't require your daily presence. So your income ladder kind of looks like this. First, you produce, and then your production becomes the foundation. Then you start to figure out leverage. Leverage could be a lot of different things. It could be team, referrals, agent attraction if you're in that kind of brokerage, expertise, AI. All these kind of things start to provide leverage. And then the goal is to start owning things, assets, IP, which is intellectual property, businesses, real estate, things like that, that start to replace that personal production. And again, as you go up in price point, there's lots of elements to being in a higher price point real estate economy or world that can help all of this kind of go faster. More doors open up, bigger transactions happen. So what could your next $100,000 do to help you live, protect, eliminate, invest, and own? Like, how can you start to think about putting your next income, however long that takes, or if you're in an area where your commissions are regularly 100,000, like your next 500,000, like just take this increment with a grain of salt to make it relevant to you. But how can you start to think about really putting that towards your big life blueprint rather than just getting to the next thing? So commission.
Jen, this is gold. I mean, for me, I'm looking back and I go, how often, and I was a business owner, multiple business owners. I've owned several businesses over the years. And so I'm looking back, I'm going, how much did I not take what I had and invest in something versus taking what I had and just spinning my wheels with it, right? And so, like, for me, that's what being a luxury real estate agent, that's professional. I'm gonna call an agent, they're professional. So, like, what this means is you can take the next investment. So let's say you take, I don't know, $10,000 of your next commission check, right? If you're able to take that and leverage into some capital that makes sense for you, not just throw it back in and hope it sticks, because a lot of times that those dollars just get spent up. And so how, and this is really is all about sustainability, right? It's about, how far can we go with what we currently have? And ultimately, 10 years from now, when, I turn, I don't know, I'm going to be 50, I'm going to be 47 this year. So 10 years be 57. So I'm like, when I'm turning 57, am I investing what I'm earning into something that's going to sustain me far beyond that? Because a lot of times we're just spinning our wheels. And I don't know whoever's listening to this thing right now, guys, for you're listening, is this resonating with you? Because to me, it's resonating. To me, I'm already thinking, all right, there's some stuff I got to get taken care of to make sure I'm building my assets the right way. Because if we're not, we're just going to keep investing in stuff that's not going to move the needle, right, in the business.
Yeah. Well, we as real estate agents, especially when we're dealing in the luxury arena, we do have the temptation to have lifestyle creep, especially with everybody having this fake lifestyle online on social media, especially if we're in a very high price point area and we're dealing with clients who make infinitely more than us or have infinitely more than us. Lifestyle creep is definitely a thing. So try to think, just like Jeremy was talking about his 57-year-old self, his 10 years future self. What would his 10-year future self be thanking him for doing today? Okay. And if you filter things through that, I'm not saying live only for 10 years from now, but be mindful of that so you can live that big dream. So leverage, build what works without you. Super, super important. AI is like the biggest game changer for all of this, because there's so much stuff that up until AI, especially now with agents and AI employees, and not just using it for, conversational things, where we can really start to use it to take on activities. So much of what we do in real estate is kind of like mundane tasks or tasks that don't have to be done even by a human. But prior to AI, it was near impossible to get that done without some kind of, that might have been a VA, that might have been an assistant, that might have been a freelancer, but you can do so much more. And this is not an AI training, but I'm just thinking, how can you really, really leverage your time? And that's going to be with people, systems, automation. How can you leverage your relationships with building your network, nurturing your network? How can you give referrals? How can you potentially get referrals? How can you start to build partnerships in different ways by really leaning into the relationship aspect of the people that you're building out contacts with? And how can you build something also? How can you leverage your knowledge, either your knowledge in helping people as a team leader, as a organization builder, as a content creator, as a coach, as a trainer, as a digital product maker, as there's so many ways you can leverage your knowledge. Everybody in real estate has something special that you can leverage that nobody else has. Everybody, even if you're brand new, So how can you leverage that?
Jane, I just did a big workshop about an hour ago for about 150 agents or so. And it was about, here's what it was about. It's about the growth hour. And so like, this goes along with that. So like in this growth hour, so every day you should have a growth hour in your business. So like for me, that's where you're focusing on growth. That's where you're talking to connections and you're making relationship connections and you're making conversations. And in that hour though, there's $5 tasks, there's $50 tasks, and there's $500 tasks. And so the world we're living in now, which I'm so excited about, is before those $5 tasks were given to an employee or given to, somebody that we could or a VA, right? Now those $5 tasks can be replaced by AI, which is so much cheaper, right? That's like updating a spreadsheet or updating your CRM, stuff like that. The $50 tasks, now that can be done by the VA or done by a person. And that's what the coolest happening is now. All this stuff is starting to leverage, and now all we can focus in on is the $500 task, which move the needle in the business. And so That's what gets me excited is we are living in this, I think it's the best way to say it is this fast paced, technology world. We have to leverage it because most agents were 3 years, 5 years behind the times. And we've been that way for years.
Yeah.
And so how do we leverage that? Now, obviously I'm not going to talk about AI and all this today, but it is a really exciting place to be able to grow your own assets because of what you can leverage with AI and technology and everything else.
100%. 100%. Like when I look at what I do and even the people that work with me, what we do and what we can do now with AI and AI agents and AI employees. So yes, absolutely. So relationships. What if your relationships also became your economic asset? That could be mentorship, being mentored and mentoring people. That can be influence. That can be relationships, partnerships, leveraged income. Like really think about as you go up in price point or as you spread out in price point, build really great relationships, not just with your buyers and sellers, but with all the people that comes with. That comes with normally different attorneys, maybe financial planners because of this person. Like how can you really create that living, breathing asset from that relationship data bank that you have? And then, like I said, knowledge is also an asset. There's so much you can do. If you've been sitting on the sidelines thinking, oh, I know this special little thing I'd really like to create, even just a digital product, a $10 digital product, a $25 digital product, you can do so much with it. If you ever spend time on TikTok, which it's a blessing and a curse, but the most amazing thing about TikTok by far is there are people with interest in everything possible under the sun, even as micro segment as that is. And there are people teaching it, sharing it. So there is something about real estate or an experience or a viewpoint you have about real estate that you can really leverage that in and lean into that as your kind of special asset that you can leverage. And then, real assets where you turn those assets into income. Again, that could be real estate, short-term real estate, long-term real estate. That could be stocks, crypto, bonds. That could be courses that you can kind of offer. What are the assets that you start? Or it could be building out your team that you can step away from your team, but you're still making money from the effort you made from your team.
And honestly, I have an agent I coach. I've been coaching for the past couple of years, and so they're experts at probate, and so like they were always doing probate cases, probate back in the days. But now that the industry has changed a little bit, and the houses are setting longer and stuff like that, he created a probate course, and it's excelling. And so now it's another source of income. Now he does great in real estate. Don't get me wrong, like he's a rock star in real estate. But he took his what he knowledge he had, how to actually do it, how to get the names, how to do all this stuff, and like it blew him up. And I'm like, this is awesome. And so everybody has a niche. I don't know if you haven't found it yet. I totally understand that. But if you are a luxury agent, that's great leverage for you. So like, as the more income comes in, use that for growing other assets. That's the direction. That's what Janie's talking about here.
Yeah, and your niche can change over time. Don't feel like you're wedded to it. It can change over time. Either you move on and find something different. So, sometimes people get nervous about a niche. I am huge in developing some kind of specialty. So just, a little bit of, think about when you're going to spend money, is it being spent on consumption, which is, sometimes okay, which is depreciating assets. It makes you feel good now, and all those things are totally okay, but it shouldn't be all the money going to consumption, and a good chunk of it should be going to assets, and those assets are to fill your big life. Can you see my little baby? I'm fostering 3 kittens.
Oh, look at that cutie. I love kittens.
This is our last day with this one because she got a home. She's
forever home.
She's being adopted tomorrow.
I'm trying to find mine. Mine's wandering around my office here somewhere. I can't find it right now.
So we sell the asset class we understand the best. So there's so many aspects of real estate too. Land is an asset class, rental property, value add real estate, business ownership, investments, IP, and you can blend all of that with the higher price points as well. You're not going to understand or be interested in all the different asset classes, but definitely start to lean into them. And that's where you can build that knowledge bank, that relationship bank, that will start to contribute to that. So the ownership shifting from selling to earning, big difference. Shifting from saving to investing, big difference. Shifting from owning to compounding, big difference. And shifting to choosing. The gap between agents who earn well and agents who build wealth, earn well and build wealth, is almost never income. It's the decision to move from earning to owning. And I know that's going to resonate with some people as well. So relationships you are the steward of what compound. Your network may be your most valuable asset. Stop, if you are having a transactional mindset, shift to having that entrepreneurial mindset where you're thinking, and by the way, you don't need to build great relationships with everybody you come across. Sometimes people think that. You should be cultivating your relationships for like that trophy database of people. That might only be 20 people, but they might be people who love you, who open doors for you, who promote you, who cheer you on. So be thinking of that as you meet people and not just letting it go by the wayside once a transaction's over. Relationship compounding, it goes from client to relationship, from trust to introductions to other people, which leads to opportunities, which leads to partnerships, which potentially leads to generations of things happening. And then the final thing of our big life, and then I'm going to give you a few kind of thinking tools here in a minute, is the legacy. Building something worth inheriting, either for your family, your children, for your community, for the world, for mankind. I live in a farm community that my family's been in forever, for generations and generations, and development is pushing on our door. One legacy thing that's important to me is helping hold on to this farm rural community and find a way to keep it being celebrated, keep it being seen as valuable. So be thinking about that. Be thinking about, when you're no longer with us, what is that estate kind of thinking? What are you going to leave for the people who are here after you're gone? So take a picture of this. I'm going to give you a couple of screenshots here. I'd just like you to take a picture of, to give you some thinking things for the next week. If the next 5 years went extraordinarily well for you, what would become true? What would become true in your life? Like, where are you going to be living? What does your normal week look like? What does your Tuesday look like? What does your income look like? What are your streams? Do you have more than one stream? What percentage is passive? Can you amp that up over the next 5 years, that a larger and larger percentage becomes passive? And if you don't hit that goal in 5 years and it takes 7 or 8 or 10, who cares? But it's having this shift in mindset. Like I said, we've reframed. What are the assets? What do you own? What is your net wealth? What does your time look like? Meaning, how much of your day is self-directed, that you're not having to answer to all these different people and meetings and things? How much is truly your time to do with what you want? What are your relationships looking like? And what is the legacy that's going to continue on without you? And then we're going to reverse engineer it. So this week, make some commitment to begin, a decision that allows you to stop allowing the urgent to permanently displace the important. We all have that issue.
Oh, yes.
Allow the urgent to displace the important all the time. So a small micro commitment. Maybe you say, okay, I'm going to commit 3 hours a week, blocked, just for my dream big vision planning and implementation. And those 3 hours are going to be time blocked, because that is super, super important. And then in the next 90 days, start to be specific with concrete actions that begin the journey. Not a complete transformation, but a deliberate first step. The first year would look like where you're going to start to develop reserves if you don't have them already. You start to acquire your first passive income generating assets if you don't have them already. You start to think in different income streams and beyond personal production, if not already. Some of you are already well on your way. So what does your next year look like? Year 3 looks like systems, teams, and team doesn't have to mean real estate team.
No,
it can be
I'm going to say, just
production team.
covered emergence.
Yeah. and what do you need to have in place, especially AI and that kind of support to make that 5-year possible? Assets, leverage, knowledge captured so that we can leverage that knowledge. And then year 5, a fully realized vision, assets owned, income flowing, time reclaimed, relationships deepened. And if you use ChatGPT or Claude or anything else, share that 5-year reverse plan with it and then tell it to protect those things. Because if you're not clear with ChatGPT or Claude or whatever you use, and you're the kind of person like me and Jeremy, we have a lot of ideas. If you don't have somebody also being kind of holding you accountable to your big dream, you're going to start to go off in all these other tangents. So you need to filter something through that'll say, hey, is this getting me to that next big step that I'm working on?
And honestly, what I was saying is so funny because literally this morning, and I got brain farts all the time, right? So I literally had to be like, this is genius and I should do it now. And I always think everything should be done now, by the way. And so I literally gave it my idea this morning. And the last thing it said, oh, that's a great idea. Then at the end, it says, but I don't think this meets what you want to get accomplished in the next year. Like it's starting to talk to me back now, like I'm a baby. Like, hey, don't do that, Jeremy. Don't do that. Like, and I'm like, this is awesome because I need that sometimes. I need to be the reins pulled back a little bit and says, hey, and it's cool because it said, hey, you said you were going to focus on AI, and now you're not focused on AI. You're trying to do something different. I'm like, that's awesome. I need that slap sometimes.
Yeah, no, I've explicitly, the instructions that live in my ChatGPT are explicitly to keep me reined in. Otherwise, I will have 15 side projects by tomorrow morning. So here's another one. We'll go a little bit faster. Just take a screenshot of this. This is your quiet leverage audit where you can audit yourself. Where are you right now? And it's not a judgment. It's just a diagnostic. So you can figure out where you need to focus about your intentionality, about your relationships, about your leverage, about your reserves, all those things. So you can figure out what is the most important thing to focus on, say for the next 90 days, or to really put a lot of focus and effort on. Which one of these things would change everything? Take a screenshot of this as well. Would freeing up your time change everything? Would creating more income change everything? Would eliminating debt change everything? Would creating those systems change everything? Would building more assets change everything? Excuse me. Dialing in your database, or really leveraging things, or leaning into your relationships, leaning into your health, or getting clarity. Like, what are the 1 or 2 things that you can really, really focus on that would change and get the highest score over here? So the next one, take a screenshot of this. This is your 90-day move. I will stop. You know, just like Jeremy's and my LLMs were telling us, don't do that right now. I built in my head a Faraday box. You know, if you're familiar with a Faraday bag,
lock it down.
Built in my head a Faraday box, and I said, I'm going to put all those great ideas in my Faraday box in my head. So now I'm not worried about losing them, but I know they're there, and I'm not giving up on them, but they're getting put off to the side for a little bit. Good. I will invest in something. I will build something. I will protect something. I will delegate something. This is probably really important. I will experience something. Like, what can you act on in the next 90 days to get you towards that big, big life? So the big life filter, run it through everything that you have an opportunity to do, just like Jeremy did with his vision. Run it through. Is that going to help me get the income I want for my big life, get the ownership I want for my big life, create the leverage I want for my big life, create and nurture the relationships I want for my big life, give me the protection I want for my big life, give me the experiences I want for my big life, contribute to my 5-year life. Like, any opportunity that comes, like I am, again, I'm down the TikTok rabbit hole sometimes, where every hobby you never knew you needed to have will fall in your face.
That's so good.
And all of those, because I'm a teacher and a trainer at heart, every time I get into a hobby, I want to create like a whole course on it.
That's right.
That's kind of dumb. And I've created a lot of them too that just sit there, because that's kind of dumb, because that is not at all leaning into my own big life. So I put them in my Faraday box and I say, I'm not giving up on you forever, little fragrance course or little, knitting course or whatever it is, puzzles, but I'm going to put you off to the side for a little bit because I'm still in my building phase. I'm still in my generating phase. So that's kind of a good filter to put you through. So the real luxury is choice. Luxury does not necessarily mean, and I promise you, I've lived and worked with so many people in luxury homes that were not really living that freedom of choice lifestyle. I've worked with so many folks that maybe had more humble homes, but had complete luxury of choice and freedom. So you need to figure out what is that big life for you. What does your time look like? What does your work look like? What does place look like? What do the people look like? What does legacy look like? And be building to that. Use your luxury or higher price point real estate to fund and leverage to get there. But don't fall down the rabbit trap to think it just means a bigger house, a big boat, a fancy car, multiple homes, all that. What is the most important thing to you? And for me, I found it's comfort, not having stress, having lots of time for all those crazy hobbies. Right. That's a very different life, but we can so easily, like I said, fall into that lifestyle creep that then we have to always grind to keep going, to just feed holding that thing together. So find out what's really luxury to you. And maybe that means working, 10 hours a week, whatever that is. Figure that out. So build the business, fund the life, create the legacy. And that's what our training was about today. Hopefully you took those the screenshots, and you can kind of figure out whatever it is for you. And the sky's the limit with real estate in North America. There's absolute sky's the limit. You have.
I was going to say, Jenny, in that same vein, just think about this for a minute. Go through your head with all the different careers that are out there, right? So just think through all the careers. Like I was talking to somebody the other day that they were actually in the medical field, and they said they've topped out. That means they can't make any more income unless they make some big life changes or big things need to be changed. And I was like, it's really cool to think through. You and I meet with agents all the time, and we hear different stories and how little things can shift, and little things added up over time, or little changes over time can really totally transform your business in terms of income, in terms of time, in terms of everything. And I'm thinking about stuff like real estate's a pretty awesome place to be in terms of, and is it easy? No. Don't get me wrong. Real estate is not easy. And it drives me insane when I hear people say, oh, real estate's the easiest thing. I'm like, no, it's not. You're lying. You're a liar. Bottom line, because it's hard work. It's very hard work. But once you figure it out, it opens the door to different possibilities, right? And so talking about luxury, you can literally step up a couple $100,000 in price range, and your life has changed. Like your whole business has changed. Yep. Like that's why I love coaching luxury agents, because it's like the point where you're like, guys, one little element, one little change, one little change in your marketing strategy can affect everything. And there's, like you said, I love talking about multiple streams of income because real estate is an open book for that. Mm-hmm. So I think that a lot of times the gears, hopefully everybody listening to this has got their gears turning a little bit about what you want to reach out to hit that big life, what you want to do, what changes you want to make. And here's the bottom line. You can listen to Janie and listen to me all day long, but unless you implement something that's going to make I call it a delta, it's going to make a change in your business, what are we doing? So yeah, I think this is huge, Janie.
Good. Hopefully somebody had one little thing change in how the way they look at things, or what they think they can implement, or what they think they can get rid of. That can have compounding effects, and that's really what we're hoping for. So.
Okay. Guys, this is amazing. Great content today. I hope you guys took your screenshots and all that good stuff. We'll be back again. Janie will be back again, I think, the second Tuesday of every month, dropping this kind of stuff. So I think it's huge. Dee Dee's putting in here, it says having the freedom to life design is huge. It's up to learn and implement. I think you're right on that. You learn, implement, because you can get stuck in that phase of learn, and no implementation and no changes happen, because I've been there, right? And so You guys got this. We're just encouraging you guys here. I really appreciate the content that we shared today. I think it really is some of the things you can take back and say, this is the powerful shift we can make. And so you guys move the needle in your business this week. You guys are rock stars. I love you guys and appreciate you guys joining us every single second Wednesday of every month. So Danny, appreciate you all. Have a good one. Thanks so much. And you guys have a blessed rest of your day. See y'all.
Bye.